What is up, wrestling fans, and welcome once again to the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, where on this edition we'll be reviewing the night one of Wrestle Kingdom 14. And who's doing that? Well, I'm your host for this edition, Callum Wiggins, and joining me, as always, Robert D. Felice.
Hey Callum, night one in the books. How are you feeling?
Like I love wrestling again. It's
Right?
yeah, it's a nice feeling to have every January the 4th, and well, we'll get January the 5th as well this year. But yes, overall thoughts, just gonna spoil it a little bit. This is one of the greatest wrestling shows that you'll see all year, as it always is. And yeah, I think we already have two potential match of the year candidates to discuss right off the bat.
Yep.
But we could start off with just what we're gonna do is typical show review, just go through all the high points, low points, the very many high points, the very few low points, and all the events that took place. So let's start off with, what did you think of just the general atmosphere? How did Tokyo Dome look?
They look good. They boasted having like a legit sellout. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they had to open up different sections of the arena which they hadn't opened up before for a Wrestle Kingdom event, in order to try and get some extra ticket sales towards the end of it, because they managed to push the attendance to over 40,000, officially 40,008 people. So that's a really good number. 40,000 people in watching this show.
What else can you say? It was a great moment for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Especially this is the first real no elite New Japan Pro Wrestling event built all year.
Yeah, so it's a good sign that the people they still have outside of the elite are still drawing big numbers, and the company itself is a hot commodity right now. What we have to mention straight off the bat is that the Stardom match that we spent a lot of time detailing and going over did not actually feature
Which
on
is
Wrestle Kingdom broadcast.
just kind of shitty, but whatever, we'll get there.
So the reason why it wasn't shown is due to the fact that there's a lot of TV competition. So even though New Japan is mostly owned by Bushiroad, it's also 10% of it is owned by TV Asahi, should I say, which is who's responsible for New Japan's television broadcasting in Japan, and the New Japan World broadcasting as well. And while as present, Stardom is currently has two television deals with Tokyo MX and Broadcasting Satellite Nippon TV. They're major competitors with the people that NTV in particular, like major competitors with the TVS Sahi people. So it basically meant that, yeah, you can put this match on the card, but nobody's going to see it outside of the people in the arena.
That's, I guess it's okay. Well, I'm really looking forward to the day that we get, Stardom on a New Japan show. We could all watch it.
Yeah, that would be good, but at least they were still willing to overlook that issue and still put them on the card so they could perform in front of the 40,000 people. In case anyone is interested, it was the team of Mayu Iwatani and Arisa Hoshiki defeated Hana Kimura and Giulia, because as pretty much what has been the story for them is the fact that Hana Kimura and Giulia couldn't get along with each other and they ended up fighting and costing themselves the match. So that we'll get that out though.
And we had talked about it. I still think Mayu Iwatani will be the face of any kind of progressive movement towards women being on New Japan World.
Yeah, you would have to say so, unless maybe with added exposure and the possibility of a New Japan relationship and future TV appearances, they might be able to lure someone like an Io Shirai or a Kairi Sane back to the fold at some point.
Yep.
So that's potential, but we'll move on to the actual first opening match of the essentially the kickoff show, pre-show stuff, which was the opening 8-man tag team match, which was Toa Henare teaming with the LA Dojo people of Clark Connors, Ryan Fredericks, and the other guy whose name I always forget.
Alex Coughlin?
Yeah, Alex Coughlin. It's just the random additional one, which I couldn't only recall seeing like vaguely on like previous editions, and they were facing the team of God, it's really late, guys. My mind just goes.
Not only is it really late, but we have been covering this quite extensively for quite a while. So that was the team of Uemura, Yota Suhi, Tomoaki Honma, and Togi Makabe.
Yeah, Togi Makabe and Tomoaki Honma. So yeah, it was essentially just a mixture of like New Japan dojo guys and New Japan veterans against a team of LA dojo recruits. And this is pretty much like just a pretty basic 8-man tag for their standards. I feel like they took an opportunity to impress and did very well. There's a lot of kind of stiff action. Like I think they were doing quite a bit to impress. Uemura was taking a lot of the damage from the LA Dojo guys, which dominated early until the tag was made to Makabe and he took control. Honma did a nice like Kokeshi and all the like usual spots we see from them. But yeah, it's just it wasn't going to blow the roof off the Tokyo Dome, but it did what it served its purpose.
Yeah, and Toa Henare got the win for his team, so I thought that was pretty cool. I think there's so much money in Karl Fredericks.
Yeah, I think that I saw someone post it on Twitter. I think it was like the Voices of Wrestling, because they do a lot of stuff with New Japan and they're always great fun to follow. Said the idea of like the fact that Makabe bumped for Karl Fredericks at one point means that he's probably going to be world champion in 3 years.
Yeah,
because Makabe doesn't bump for anybody.
I think somebody said he'll be main eventing within the decade. He'll be main eventing Wrestle Kingdom with Tanahashi, and it's very possible. He's gonna bring a lot to New Japan.
I think Tsuji was given a nice spot as well. With like in the closing moments of the match, he was putting the Boston Crab on Henare. Managed to hold on, even though he's being chopped to death by. Was it? I think it was Connors that was chopping him to death.
Right.
And then, but then he takes a spinning kick to the head, and then flip sells a harder Henare clothesline. Do the usual kick out, and then Henare wins with his finisher. And yeah, I think it's good for Henare. It's like maybe a sign that he'll get more of an opportunity going forward to actually progress and be more of a fixture as opposed to being, I guess, the high end version of a jobber in New Japan.
And I see big things from him as well, but I had mentioned that in the pre-show, and it'll be fun to watch where they go.
Okay, and then we had the second match on the pre-show, which was Tencozy facing Yuji Nagata and Manabu Nakanishi.
It's a pretty standard match. The established team of Tencozy getting the win, like you had predicted, Callum, and I liked it. It was a fun little opener, you know? Not opener, but their pre-show.
Yeah, it was, again, just... I like the fact the crowd was so invested in, because they know all these guys' spots so well. So when you have the Kojima chops in the corner or the Tencozy Mongolian chops, you're like, the crowd is just into it, even if it's not as exciting or as crisp as some of the matches we'll be talking about later. I've noted something on like commentary that Chris Charlton mentioned that apparently at one point Nakanishi at Wrestle Kingdom was supposed to fight Goldberg.
In the year 2000.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting that I guess the relationship with WCW pretty much died by that point, so that couldn't happen. So
fate intervened, more like a AOL Time Warner.
Yeah, that's a lot of fate coming right at you there. I know it had Tencozy uses the 3D, so I don't know whether that was
the Tencozy cutter, and I laughed.
Yeah, that's a 3D. It's like I have no idea whether that's been a regular part of their arsenal, but like it is just a 3D, so it's nice to see that spot come into it. And then Tencozy wins off of a clothesline.
Because New Japan.
Yeah, because New Japan is the one, thanks to Stan Hansen, New Japan is the one place where a clothesline is always viewed as a legitimate finishing move.
Yep. And they sell that shit like $1 million always.
Yeah. And they so they show respect after the match, like shake hands, and then you get to just celebrate the veterans a little bit, and then we move on. we have like a pretty long interval because they announced that there's going to be a 4-man announced team. So it's Kevin Kelly, what's the new Australian guy? I'm trying to remember.
Gino Gambino.
Yeah, Gino Gambino. Yeah, Chris Charlton and Rocky Romero. I don't think it was I don't think it was overbearing, even though it was 4 people.
I do think it was a little too haha at points for New Japan, and I would have liked it to be like Charlton, Kevin Kelly, and maybe you get an established heel in there. I'm not crazy about Gambino. Rocky's fine. But
yeah, I guess the idea is they can't really use Don Callis anymore,
right?
Because his relationships with Impact Wrestling and the fact that the company that owns Impact Wrestling essentially killed New Japan on American TV. So
that's a fucking discussion. Maybe we get more into that at a later date. But yeah, New Japan will no longer be on Access TV or any American TV for the time being.
No, so I would encourage everyone listening to order New Japan World. It's only a small amount of money, and cancel your Access subscription if you're doing that instead.
Or cancel your network if you're, I mean, it's a fair trade.
Yeah. So we move on to the first match of the main show, which is essentially more entrances than actually wrestling, but it was still good for what it was. It's Jushin Liger's first retirement match. So it's Jushin Liger teaming up with Fujinami. Fujinami?
Tatsumi Fujinami.
Yeah, Tatsumi Fujinami. Again, it's pretty like soon after. It's like after watching 5 or 6 hours of wrestling, mind kind of wanders a little bit. Also with Tiger Mask and the Great Sasuke facing Ryusuke Taguchi, Naoki Sano,
Otani.
Shinjo Otani, and Taikawa. With just all these people around the bench, we can pick out like the few bits and pieces from the prediction show. You know who's involved.
Now, I'm not gonna gloss over this because we see a lot of like, oh, that guy came back. That wasn't great. Tatsumi Fujinami is 66 years old, looked in tremendous shape.
Yeah.
For all things considered, wrestled tremendously. Otani fucking wiped out Sasuke with a running kick.
That was my favorite spot in the match. Just like he's face washing Liger, and he just runs through it, and Sasuke for some reason decides to stand in the right spot to just get wiped out. He takes a massive bump for it. I mean, they mentioned it on the commentary. I mean, that most of these people are pretty much still active wrestlers. I mean, Taguchi and Tiger Mask still wrestle very regularly on New Japan. So does Liger, even though this is entering his retirement. A lot of the like Otani and Taikawa still wrestle for 0-1. I like the fact they still managed to like plug Zero because Taikawa came out wearing a Wrestle 1 t-shirt, so gave an opportunity to plug that show as well. Yeah, and I think the one that honestly underwhelmed me the most was Sano. Which is I was a little surprised about, especially because the fact that he's going to be the one that's wrestling with Liger tomorrow night in the tag team match.
Yeah, but that's because they want to tell a story of enemies of old teaming against enemies of new. I think it'll be a fun match. I was so blown away by all the solid performances in this match that very much a thumbs up from me.
Yeah,
I love Liger, and I was already like choked up knowing that like this is it.
I mean, it's clear they all came to work to try and make it the best possible send off for Liger that they possibly could. When Liger's music hit, the crowd just goes absolutely crazy. You can tell there's a lot of emotion in the building, and a lot of emotion from people watching that followed Liger's career for as long as they have. And yeah, I think that Liger showed himself really well. Deck gave a good showing. He formed a top rope Hurricane Rana at one point to Taguchi. There's a lot of like just cool stuff happening, like Sasuke missing a load of Swanton bombs was a lot of fun, and like Sano performing a suicide dive, the face washes, to Fujinami applying the Dragon's Leaper, just looking good. But the interesting thing was, as I've we predicted that Liger would win this match as a big final send off before losing the following match.
No,
But Liger tries him probably they told him, okay, Liger, we want you to win this match. He said, nope, not winning. I'm going out on my back like every good veteran should do, and that's what he did. He took the finisher by Taguchi and got pinned.
It was a chicken wing facebuster, and he did get pinned. And yeah, man, Liger went out on his back, and you kind of got the saying so.
Yeah, the crowd reaction was a bit like, I don't want to say like they were deflated, but it was a bit like sad to see the win, even though Taguchi is popular, and I guess he's doing the right thing by putting the youngest guy in the match over on his way out. But even though Taguchi's 40 years old, but it didn't really need to matter too much because they knew that Liger was going to go up, get a big round of applause, going to celebrate with everyone anyway. He's going to get his music played at the end of it. So I think it served the right purpose, maybe, even though people would have liked to see Liger win.
Yeah, I had another shout out. The King of Bum style. That shit just it cracked me because it's like clearly this dude is a bit of a he's not all comedy, but he's a little bit comedy. But fuck, that was funny.
When he wants to be full comedy, he is very, very good at the full comedy stuff. Like the hip attack is his basic thing, so he basically just uses his arse as a weapon constantly in his matches. But when he wants to when it's like Best of the Super Juniors time and it's time to put up or shut up, he's an excellent wrestler as well.
So funny.
So yeah, I think we'll see what Liger and Sano can put together for their match with Hiromu Takahashi and Ryu Lee on night 2. But if there's any indication, I think, especially working with two guys who are in their prime and really can fire on all cylinders, it might be an excellent showcase for those two.
I don't know, man. I think Hiromu might be past his prime. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah,
possibly.
There were some signals in his match with Ospreay, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But let's move on to the next 8-man tag team match. LIJ with Bushi, Takagi, Evil, and Sanada facing the Suzuki-gun team of Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, El Desperado, and Taichi. So, as is typical Suzuki-gun fashion, they jump the gun.
Hold on, no, we got to talk about the biggest low point of the show. No Kaze Ninare. They don't even have Suzuki on the show. You're not gonna do that.
No, I know, but it's like they have their Suzuki-gun entrance theme now, and realistically, this match, even though it's Suzuki and Suzuki's great and everyone wants to see Suzuki, this match wasn't about Suzuki. It was about building towards Zack Sabre Jr. versus Sanada. So,
all matches should be about Suzuki.
Well, we'll see Suzuki on the following show. Oh, actually, he won't be. This was his only thing because he's not involved in the Gauntlet match.
He's not.
So yeah, this was the one and only sign we see of Suzuki for Wrestle Kingdom 14. So it wasn't like super special, but I'm sure he'll get other opportunities down the road. It just wasn't his year. But this match was still very good. Like most 8-man tag team matches in New Japan follow a pretty similar pattern, but are strong showings. Suzuki uses a chair early on, but obviously there's no DQs in a New Japan match, pretty much.
Right.
When Shingo tags in, he immediately goes after Suzuki and knocks him off the apron, which makes me feel like maybe they're building towards that in the future, which really they should do at some point in 2020. There was a great exchange of clotheslines and kicks by Shingo and Taichi at one point. Taichi looked really good in this match.
The thing about that, those are words I never thought I'd hear you say.
Taichi has improved a great deal in the last year and a half. And he can still have the bad Taichi match every now and again, but when the match that I saw him have with Naito during the G1 I thought was just an absolute train wreck. But when he's on and he shows a bit more of like the fighting spirit side of his character, then yeah, he can really pull it off. And basically working with Shingo means that you up your game anyway because Shingo's so great.
Yeah.
So towards the end, we see a little bit of action between Sabre Jr. and Sanada to try and hype up their match. And then Bushi tags in. Saber reverses a backslide attempt in the finishing sequence, and then he applies his unique Uemura hold where he uses both his legs to tie up Bushi's arms, and Bushi nods, taps out. Post-match, they try and do an attack again with Suzuki-gun. Sanada attempts to lock in the skull end, but Saber escapes it. So I think they're trying to build up the idea that they want Sanada to maybe make Saber tap out. That seems to be the idea, that Saber's trying to avoid getting into any of his submission holds.
Well, I thought the line of the night came from Zack Sabre Jr., who, after escaping the Dragon Sleeper from Sanada, said, "How dare you, especially with Fujinami in the building, how dare you try to apply a Dragon Sleeper?"
Yeah, I thought that was great as well. He's very funny, Zack Sabre Jr.
I don't necessarily feel like the Rev Pro belt should mean a whole lot in New Japan, but I know it does. I like Tanahashi was champion, and that is a belt that's very prestigious. And for the sake of it, I think there's a good chance Sanada does win it tomorrow now, just because. But I don't think he needs to hold it for long.
No, he probably doesn't need to hold it for a while, but I could again see him winning it tomorrow night just to hold it for a few months before dropping it back to, I wouldn't say dropping it back to Sabre Jr. because that seems so easy, but to drop it to somebody who's more British and Rev Pro based as opposed to someone from New Japan. But I like the fact that they have this relationship with like a big British promotion, and it allows a lot of UK talent, because a lot of UK talent is thriving in New Japan or could work really well in New Japan. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the next place they open a New Japan dojo, if they have any plans of expanding it further.
I would imagine that they will.
So we move on from that to the next 8-man tag, which was Chaos, represented by Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroki Goto, Yoshi-Hashi, and Toru Yano, facing the Bullet Club team of Kenta, Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, and Yujiro Takahashi.
This was just a shout out to Peter.
Well, it always is when Peter's around. So yeah,
5 stars, guys.
Yeah, that was the standout performance of this match was Peter showing up. Bullet Club was also accompanied by 2 members of the Japanese rugby team.
Yeah, Gino Gambino on commentary got a kick out of that. What are the rugby guys doing right now?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I suppose you didn't follow the Rugby World Cup that took place in Japan.
I did not.
I followed it a little bit because England made it to the final, so got a little bit interested on that one. Japan, it was New Zealand, I believe. Was it New Zealand? It was the team that beat England in the final. So I think it might have been South Africa actually. It's definitely. I think we beat New Zealand in the semi-finals and we lost to South Africa in the final. So we didn't win. Otherwise, I would have led with that. But the Japanese rugby team actually did pretty well, and obviously they were hosting the event, and they're not classically seen as a top rugby team, but they performed above expectations. So it was nice to see a couple of them there, because they received kind of a hero's welcome once they returned from it. So it was good to see that, a little bit of added sports celebrity in there. This match was a great opportunity for Yano to pull out all the comedy spots. So he wants to start the match. He's really excited about starting the match, and then he sees that it's Bad Luck Fale who he's starting with, and then he immediately wants to tag out.
I did enjoy that.
Yano's great. If you're going to have somebody that's just going to add a little bit of comedy relief into any sort of situation, then he's the perfect one to do it. They work over. Yoshi-Hashi takes most of the beating for this match, as you'd probably expect from the Chaos side. That they work over him for a while, but then he eventually makes a tag to Goto. So I think the story for this match was Bullet Club is trying to keep Kenta out of the ring as much as possible, so he's pretty fit for the match against Goto. Whereas Goto just wants to fight everyone because he's Goto.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it, just because I think Kenta has been underwhelming for people, and part of me wants to see him go in there with Goto and just go balls to the wall and have a really great performance. Because Kenta is one of the best when he's on, and I just feel like he hasn't gotten to that level in New Japan yet.
I'm sure we'll see probably more of that side of him tomorrow. I mean, when I saw him wrestle Ishii in that UK show, I thought that was a sign of like what Kenta can be in New Japan. And I think we'll see more of that in the actual match. But I feel like they were just holding fire a little bit in this little preview. So instead, Goto took out Takahashi with the GTR at the end instead. Also, shout out to Ishii getting Farley up for the Brainbuster. That always
was
gets
awesome.
that got a huge part because I feel like that's something that's been teased almost all year. Ishii trying to hit Farley with this giant suplex, and when it actually happens, like whenever Farley, they've built up Farley so well as a big monster heel that anytime that he is lifted up or taken off his feet, the crowd just goes crazy for it. So Goto wins. Kenta just watches on as it happens. They stare down a little bit and he walks away. So it achieved what it needed to do. Just give Goto a little bit more fire before building up to like his title shot against Kenta. So we'll see how that eventually goes. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a sighting of Shibata in that match as well, either at ringside, I assume.
Man, I'm gonna. So at some point between now and New Year's Dash, I do think we get something with Shibata.
I don't want to like jinx it just because like I don't want him wrestling. I don't want him wrestling if he's not healthy.
I know.
So we move on to that's like all the pretty special matches like that don't have a title in the line out of the way. So we move on to the first title match, which is Gorillas of Destiny defending the IWGP World Tag Team Championships against Juice, David Finlay and Juice Robinson. Juice was channeling his inner biker from the Village People.
Oh my!
With his look.
Yeah, I think it's real safe to say he spends a lot of time in the YMCA, don't you?
I mean, I feel like I would love to channel the confidence that Juice Robinson has in his appearance, because he basically has the sort of persona and the attitude that he could basically give me any look and I'll pull it off in some form or fashion.
So I really thought that when he lost to Mox, that he was going to be more like serious. Like I had even called it like I think they're gonna like make him really serious like a Benoit, and no,
he's still very much the fun-loving Juice Robinson. He's growing his hair out more again.
Got quite a mustache.
Yeah, David Finlay's outfit was good as well. And then Gorillas of Destiny comes out. They're accompanied by Yardo, obviously, with his equalizer, the kendo stick.
Tamatanga delivered a stark pelvic thrust to the camera.
I mean, it was good the camera spotted that because they missed quite a lot of stuff on this show. So with one of the one negative
missed a dive from Suzuki in the Legend Tag match.
Yeah, it's just one of the one of the low points. It was some of the camera work. The camera work was mostly great because it typically is in New Japan, but there was just some spots where they were just out of position or they just missed completely, which just were. They were big blind spots because it typically never happens. So when it does happen, mind is just blown about how they missed this stuff.
You know what it is? They had to save all their energy for those sweet fucking Rainmaker zooms, you know?
Yeah, we'll definitely get onto that as well. But this match started on the ramp. It was the only match to really start with just a big brawl to start with. So it's nice they mixed bits up. Juice immediately takes a huge backdrop on the ramp and bounces up off it immediately. It's like just like this huge drop, and then he just bounces up. It looks like pretty gnarly.
I thought this match was phenomenal considering the four guys in the match. You know, I was drastically surprised, considering what I know going into tomorrow, that Juice actually got the win.
Yeah, so it was a very strong match, I thought, between the two of them. So that they spent a long time working over Juice Robinson. He gets the hot tag to Dave Finlay. He runs wild for a little bit, and then he gets taken out because of the injured shoulder. They work over the shoulder for a little while, tag to Robinson, then we have the closing sequence. They managed to get the Magic Killer. They looked like for a while that it was pretty clear that God was going to win because they hit the Magic Killer on Finlay, but Juice Robinson just about broke it up. Then they hit the Magic Killer on Juice Robinson. They were setting up for the giant power bomb, like the super power bomb off the corner, but instead Finlay managed to reverse it into a Hurricane Rana in midair, which is a really nice spot. Then they try and do like a hot closing sequence where he goes for a roll-up attempt, but he's thrown into Jado with the kendo stick, so people think that's going to be the finish, but he kicks out of that as well. So they were doing
of really strong false finishes, not only in this match, but just all night long.
Yeah. I think they did a good job of building up the idea that this kendo stick shot is a killer, really, by like in previous matches where that's been the way that God have retained, or at least like built themselves into a good finishing spot. So the fact that it didn't work this time was the right time to do it. Juice hits a mixture like left hand of God to Jado, then Tonga lower, then Tomatonga, and then Finlay hits the acid drop, and we have new tag team champions.
Yep. And I think that it's a good move, first of all. Tag team titles needed a breath of fresh air. But I also think it's weird considering Juice Robinson has a United States title match tomorrow, and I'm almost 100% sure he's going to win that. So it looks like whomever wins the main event will not be the only doubles champion in NJPW.
Yeah, so this was a very good match, and yeah, it's a nice change of pace for the tag team division to have a fresh face in it. So hopefully Finlay and Juice Robinson continue to impress as a tag team. But like you mentioned, that's not the only thing Juice Robinson will be doing this Wrestle Kingdom weekend, as he'll be challenging for the United States Championship, and he will be challenging Jon Moxley after Moxley defeated Lance Archer in the Texas Death match for the title.
So good.
It's a very good match as well. It wasn't as like jaw-droppingly crazy as the lights out match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley from AEW, but I don't think there's much there could be.
Lance Archer did try to asphyxiate Jon Moxley with a plastic bag, so
yeah, there were some cool weapon spots in this thing. So I loved Archer's like battle outfit that he comes out in, like the spiked helmet.
He looked awesome.
He beats up all the young lions at ringside at every opportunity he gets. There's like chairs thrown into people's faces, trash can lids. I like the fact that Rocky Romero said that you don't usually see trash can lids like that in Japan, so he must have brought them over from home.
Yeah,
to get it.
Very logical, and again, that's something I don't think you would get on a WWE commentary team. But I thought this match was a lot of fun. It's odd because you said it, and I'm really feeling it. I kind of think Jon Moxley just left WWE so he could beat people up with weapons.
Yeah, but obviously, I mean, it was working for him, so I can't really blame him too much for it. So, my favorite spot of the match until the finish was it was Archer chokeslamming a young lion onto Moxley on the outside. Thought that's so in his character, just like, okay, there's this warm body outside the ring that I can use to attack another person. Just like, yeah, this fits him perfectly. As you mentioned, he tries to do the EVD vice grip at one point, and or the EVD claw, and he uses a plastic bag in order to try and asphyxiate Moxley in the process, but Moxley fights out of it.
It's the EVD?
EVD, everybody dies.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, so at one point he uses a blackout move and he sends Moxley crashing through four chairs, should I say?
That looked legitimately painful.
He uses his the spikes on his helmet at one point to attack Moxley in the head, and it causes Moxley to be busted open a little bit.
Yeah, that's again like it wasn't a spectacle like the match with Omega, but the spots here were very calculated and vicious as a visual.
And the big final spot is that Moxley managed to set Archer up for a Death Rider off the apron through 2 tables set on the outside, which looks like it sends like Moxley goes through one table and Archer goes through the other one. So they both struggle with their feet. Moxley gets up around about 8, but even though Archer is almost standing, he collapses down, and so he can't reach a 10 count. So Moxley is your new United States champion.
His Archer's arm got fucked up.
Yeah,
in that
those tables are just tables. They're not gimmicks in any way. It doesn't look like it anyway. They just look like real tables that they're going through. So
yeah, that looked painful because of all the blood you would see. And then Moxley, who is just a master of... he's got a swagger about him that just works.
That wasn't present at all pretty much throughout his WWE run, or at least towards the end of it.
Yeah, and I think because, a lot of this is very free-flowing, no script about it. He just grabs the microphone and says, I came here to leave with everything or leave with nothing, and Juice Robinson, we settle the score tomorrow. I think it's almost a given that Robinson beats him.
There's obviously the opportunity to do that. It's interesting because obviously Moxley is primarily signed with AEW. He's going to be seemingly the next challenger for the AEW World Championship, and he's going to be if he beats Robinson tomorrow, he's still going to be the United States champion with New Japan, so he's still going to have dual commitments. Not saying that he wouldn't wrestle for New Japan again anyway, but it's interesting to see how that match result happens, because either Moxley retains and we've got an AEW guy holding a New Japan title still, or we have another double champion alongside the other double champion we're going to crown in the main event.
So it's almost worth talking about the fact that in the days since we've recorded our preview, Dave Meltzer has come on Wrestling Observer Radio and said there's not like an official working relationship between AEW and New Japan, but they're much more open and receptive to one another. So, anything's possible.
I said it in the previous show, and I'll say it again. There is so much money and opportunity to be had if these two can bury the hatchet. Like, Okada is a huge crossover star for AEW potentially. Like, imagine having they have an AEW show All Out or whatever, and they say, okay, well, we've got a special thing for All Out. We're going to put an IWGP Heavyweight Championship on the line there. Massive business. In the same way, okay, we'll work with Wrestle Kingdom going forward, and then Wrestle Kingdom will have an AEW World Heavyweight title match in the next one. So there's massive opportunity. Kenny Omega can obviously go back over between the two sides. You have the Young Bucks can go over again and work in the tag team division again, bring over some top names. It's an opportunity that they could send some of their young Lion talent over to AEW to get their experience. So
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's the right thing they should do, but if they're not officially there yet, then they're not there yet. But hopefully over time, if things are seeming to fall between them, then yeah, it's gonna be a positive for both sides. So yeah, Moxley, new US champion. So we move on to what I thought until the main event was going to be the match of the night, because I didn't know how the main event could top it, and it somehow managed to. But Will Ospreay against Hiromu Takahashi for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. What a match! Absolutely incredible.
What can you say that hasn't been already tweeted? And Will Ospreay may be the best in the world. I mean, Punk himself even joked about that.
Yeah, Ospreay is on another level right now. But the fact that Hiromu Takahashi can come back at that level after suffering a broken neck is mind-blowing to me.
Just one of the best in the world.
What do you think of Hiromu's attire?
I love it.
It's so colourful.
There is something to the way he carries himself, I think he could, if he bulked up, he could overtake Naito as the head of LIJ.
He is like a bizarre but super attractive charisma to him.
Yeah,
it really helps people gravitate towards him.
Think about like babyface Nakamura charisma. It's got that kind of a vibe. It's very eccentric, and you want to be around him.
And I have to mention that Ospreay has elevated back in as his theme music.
Oh my god, one of the best theme songs, right?
Yeah, that's I was so happy that they managed to sort that out so that could be actually presented rather than some generic like, oh, music changed for copyright purposes stuff that they've had to do recently for him.
Don't want to jinx it, but I'm also hoping when Jericho comes out tomorrow, he has Judas again, because he did not at Dominion.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see for that one. But Ospreay launches himself out of the ground for his entrance, and he's wearing cat skins, which I guess is some sort of a nod to the fact that Daryl is alongside Hiromu. So just to show, like, gonna try and kill the cat here. I love the first thing I thought was great about it was they tease charging into each other at the start, but then they just stop and say, "No, we're gonna actually just start chain wrestling to begin with."
Awesome.
Just a nice change of pace. Just like, so, okay, we're gonna just take this a little bit more methodical this time. I think the first like big, huge spot about it. I mean, there's obviously a Hiromu powerbombs Ospreay on the apron at one point early on, but the first thing that makes me go, "Oh, Jesus!" was the the foot stomp to the back of Hiromu's neck, followed by that draping DDT.
Oh.
That was like, oh, okay, these guys are taking this a little bit like, okay, so they're not going to try and protect the neck at all. They're really targeting it. That's what was going to happen. It doesn't stop. Ospreay hits a neck breaker on the floor at one point as well. But then Hiromu comes back at some point with like this wheelbarrow flatliner, which was awesome. I mean, there was just so many great spots. It's really like hard to kind of like cover every single spot in this match because it's so great. But you've definitely, if you haven't seen it, then I can't recommend watching it enough. But the one big sequence which I feel like will be like impinged on my memory forever was that Sasuke special spot.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, try and describe it as best I can, but you should definitely go back and watch it. I'm sure there's like a million gifs of it on Twitter if you don't want to watch the whole match. But so Ospreay goes for the Sasuke special, which is the like flipping moonsault to the outside. He misses the first one, but lands on his feet. Hiromu tries to suplex him. Ospreay lands on his feet from the German suplex. Then he does a belly-to-belly throw, which sends Ospreay in like through the ropes into the ring, so he can perform another Sasuke special and actually connect on it. It was inch perfect, and it's something that only I feel Ospreay could do.
Do you feel like Ospreay's style should be kind of exclusive to guys like him and people who can make this, for lack of a better phrase, this anime fighting style like
I feel like
perfect?
I don't say like it should just be limited to him, but it's just like there's very few people that can weave it in and make it look so, but first of all, so good, and second of all, not take away from the actual hard-hitting impact of the match itself. Like it's hard to find people that can do it with that level of consistency and quality, and Ospreay is maybe in a league on his own in that regard. So I'm not saying that people should attempt it and they should try and do this stuff, because you don't get better at doing this stuff without trying it and failing at it in the initial attempts. But I would say like nobody's really going to pull it off the same way Ospreay can at this moment in time.
I would agree with that. The one thing I don't like was they were like, "Oh, he's got a new move. Hiromu has a new move," and to me, it just sort of felt like Time Bomb 2.0. Like it was very much same style of maneuver. You know, he's still dropping him relatively in the same way.
I still feel like it's always good to introduce something a little bit different. It looks more like a kind of a cradle tombstone pile driver type of addition to that move. So I think him coming back after off the shelf so long and introducing a new like big final move is probably the right call. Even if it is still fairly similar to the, I mean, some of them are fairly similar. I mean, Shingo Takagi's like made in Japan, and his dragon final move is kind of chasing the dragon final move. They're actually pretty similar. So
yeah, that's fair.
And we have Naito uses a running Destino and then a regular Destino as his finisher, so it's kind of like there's a few similarities. But there was some other great stuff in this match. There was only one noticeable botch that I saw, which was Ospreay doing the missile drop kick from the top rope where he hits people in the back of the head, and Hiromu kind of mistimed the sell. So
yeah,
it was obvious that it wasn't connected with properly. But obviously you don't want to connect with it properly because you'll kill a guy doing that sort of move. but it just made it look a little bit hokey. Ospreay at one point uses Made Japan from Shingo, but kicks out. Follows it up with like a shooting star press to Hiromu's back. Uses the Os cutter, he kicks out. At one point, Ospreay misses the hidden blade a couple of times, but then he does eventually hit it, and it looks unbelievably devastating. Like I would argue that's probably the most devastating strike move in wrestling right now. Is that hidden blade?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that until I saw some of the kicks that and punches that Ibushi was doing in the in the main event.
Yeah, this match was so good, and I think it's safe to say, rest in peace, Will Ospreay's time in the juniors.
I mean, I would think so. There's probably a high likelihood of that. At least he's probably going to spend more time wrestling in the heavyweight side of things. But I still feel like with Ospreay, he's somebody that said that he wants to do it all. So I wouldn't put it past him from him being the best of Super Juniors again. Maybe not winning it this year, but just being a part of it, just so he can add more matches and add more like 4 or 5-star matches to his belt. But he's probably going to be more prominently featured in the heavyweight division. Probably challenge more for some heavyweight titles. I could see him this year being maybe a US champion or challenging for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, I think he's going to be IC champ very soon.
Yeah. So yeah, this was an awesome match. You should definitely check it out. It was, for me, the second best match of the night by a pretty massive distance.
I know we got to go through the IC match, but I told you, did I not say Ibushi Okada would run away with the night?
Oh yeah, but you need to kind of prove it. I mean, I thought that there was a good opportunity that Hiromu and Ospreay could do, and I don't think I was far off in that regard. I know we talk about Okada and Ibushi, it's just, I mean, in terms of the athleticism, maybe Hiromu and Ospreay is higher up, but in terms of just the sheer like emotion and storytelling, it kind of just blows it out the water, and that's just the power of Okada and Ibushi as characters as well as wrestlers.
Yes.
But we will talk now about the Intercontinental Championship match, which was Jay White against Tetsuya Naito. I would say this match was not as good as the other two matches, like the match that preceded it and the match that followed it.
That's not a slight on this match, though. This match was great.
Yeah, this match was great. I would say this, though.
It was sandwiched in better matches. That's it.
Yeah. But I will say this. I feel like last year was when I kind of started to fall in love with Jay White as a wrestler. This year, he might end up being, by the end of it, my favourite wrestler. Because he is the guy. He is the top heel in New Japan. There is not a question or shadow of doubt. He is the top heel in New Japan.
100%.
And he is someone who goes into the ring and immediately says, "I'm going to get this audience to fucking hate me the second I walk into this ring." And then he immediately does it. The crowd hates him from the get-go. And he just carries himself so perfectly. Like, I don't really know what else to say about it. But
2 years. I've never hated somebody and then I dig this guy and then I fucking love him. Like, you know what I mean? The progression over the last 2 years with Switchblade Jay White has been amazing, and sky's the limit.
Like, he's someone who will perform like matches where you go with someone like, I don't know, a Yoshi-Hashi or somebody of that ilk who doesn't really have a huge amount of fan reaction behind him initially, but then you go into a match with Jay White and it's like you're wrestling the biggest babyface in the world, whoever his opponent is. They teased like some stuff early on with Naito, but then there's Gedo, who's also like a big part of White's act, grabs the legs of Naito, and White immediately starts getting the advantage. He does a lot of the Naito poses and spots like that where he's teasing to do a dive, but instead he just does the roll through with the Naito like punch in the air. So he's just reveling in the crowd's hatred of him.
So good.
The big story of this match is the attack on Naito's leg. So at one point towards the end of it, well, not towards the end of it, but towards like the middle part of the match, Naito is pulled into the ring post and Gedo hits a steel chair across Naito's leg, and then he's selling that pretty much for the remainder of the match. White goes after it quite a lot. He uses the TTO, which was originally the Tanahashi tap out, but it's now, I guess, well, Kevin Kelly christened it the Tetsuya tap out instead. So nice thinking on the fly there, which is basically just like a modified figure four leg lock. But then you have Naito powering through the pain, going through all his own stuff. You see a pop-up spine buster at one point, which I don't think I've ever seen Naito do. That was interesting. There was there's obviously when you have a Naito match, you have at least one crazy bump, which I think on this occasion was the Saito suplex that White did over the top rope, which Naito landed back first on the apron. It's like,
yeah, I found it very scary that Naito kind of talked about, having battles with his health and depression rather recently because he didn't think he'd be able to continue wrestling. And it's like, yeah, keep fucking trying to kill yourself every time you're out there. See what happens.
I think I guess part of him just doesn't want to let that go because he feels like that's so important to what makes him a great wrestler.
I guess
that he needs that in his character. But yeah, it is going to cut his career short probably, or at least like hurt him maybe in the long run, which nobody wants to see. But I mean, this was his night. I mean, this is his night, and tomorrow night could potentially be his night as well because he fights through the pain barrier, he gets through all the leg stuff. I love like some of the reversals. Jay White's reversals out of finishing sequences is like world class, especially at his age and level of experience. But eventually Naito hits a flash Destino. He can't make the cover initially, but then he blocks a fireman's carry into a poison Marana and then hits another Destino, but White kicks out of that one. And then... So he goes for the next one. White reverses that gets in the Blade Runner position, but Naito blocks this and then drops Jay White right on the back of his head. Then another Destino, and Naito becomes the Intercontinental Champion once again.
So, a couple thoughts about Naito with the IC belt. Last year, I thought he's going to beat the foreigner and he's going to accept the belt and he's going to love it. And visually, it did not seem like that's what he did.
No.
But then on commentary, they told the story of, he did accept the belt because he realized it was his passport to the world title because he realized that this was his destiny. Now, I think New Japan's booking is some world-class booking, but I'm going to say that no, they fell into this. I do not think that 2 years ago when they had Okada beat Naito, I don't even think a year ago when they were going into, Omega Tanahashi, that they thought, okay, this is the plan. We're going to crown Naito at Wrestle Kingdom 14. I think they fell into this, but I think it works because much like Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 35, you cannot argue with the popularity of Tetsuya Naito. And he deserves to be crowned.
See, I actually disagree. I think this has been the plan since Wrestle Kingdom 12, and probably even before that.
I don't. Do you think the double title thing was the plan, though?
I guess maybe the double title thing is something that came into it as the vehicle for it, because I don't think they had the plan at that point in time that they were going to run 2 nights at Wrestle Kingdom. But I think that if that wasn't the way, they would have done Naito winning the G1 instead, and have him get it that way. But I feel like Okada versus Naito was going to be on the cards for a few years down. Like, there must have been a reason for the fact that they didn't have them touch for the entire. Well, obviously they wrestled in tag team matches, but they didn't wrestle another singles match between. Then this will be when they fight tomorrow. That will be the first singles match they've had since Wrestle Kingdom 12. So there must be a reason for that. And the same way that I thought that there was long-term booking with, I think way before the Wrestle Kingdom 11 main event, that they knew they were going to make, that they knew Kenny Omega would be the one to beat Okada for the title, but they weren't going to do it then. They were going to wait until.
Very possible. I just, for some reason, there's something about Naito in this story that feels like, okay, you're a little shoehorned here, and maybe it's just me. I don't know.
I think they did. I mean, it does feel a little bit shoehorned because, like you say, he was the guy bringing nothing to the table for this one. But he was the former Intercontinental Champion, so you could say that he was not such owed a rematch, but he was worthy of a rematch for it. So, and obviously the Intercontinental title needs to be defended on this show anyway. You wouldn't exactly just say, okay, we're going to have a world title match and White just gets a free pass to the second night and he gets to fight for the world title afterwards, just by virtue of being Intercontinental Champion. So he had to defend against somebody, so it might as well have been Naito.
Yeah.
So,
that's fair.
But yeah, I feel like it was still a very good match. It was very good storytelling. It was good selling of the leg. And White performed great. Naito performed great. And Naito is going to be in the main event of Night 2. So he's back, arguably where a lot of people believe that he belongs. And in that match, he'll be facing Kazuchika Okada after Okada won the main event of the Night 1, which was defeating Kota Ibushi for to defend the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
How many stars?
It's pushing this. I mean, if you go by the Meltzer scale, this is pushing 6 easily. But if you go by just typical thing, it's a solid 9.5, 9.75 out of 10, that sort of range. Like it's just a brilliant match. Like, it's from the moment it starts, like, Ibushi comes down, he's holding the briefcase, got a great entrance, got a good crowd reaction. Okada's entrance is incredible. Absolute, like, he is a megastar. The megastar of New Japan. Like, you get the huge, like CG behind it, the video footage with him standing in front of it, and it's responding to his actions. He's wearing this robe which glows in the dark. It's a WrestleMania style entrance, but I just feel like I'm going to remember that entrance more than most of the ones that happen at WrestleMania this year.
Well, in that vein, I feel like WrestleMania entrances have downgraded over time, and these entrances now mean so much. We didn't even talk about like what Naito was wearing. I love the mask that Naito had on in his entrance.
I think the thing with New Japan's entrances, I don't want to bash WWE too much, but WWE's entrances feel so much more artificial.
Yeah, but I think it's almost like you're getting that. Like, if you get a processed hamburger as opposed to going to a restaurant and having a chef prepare a hamburger, that's the difference. WWE feels like McDonald's, which biggest company in the world, sure. Most recognizable hamburgers, sure. But New Japan feels like craftsmanship.
So let's talk about the actual biggest travesty of the entire night, beyond even Suzuki's entrance not being played, which is the cameraman misses the reveal of Okada's new shorts.
Yeah.
Which is like his big thing every single year, and the cameraman just flat out just is focused on his chest. And I'm like, okay, this guy, like, I'm sure he has a family and it's right at the start of the new year, but this guy needs to be let go immediately for his position or downgraded. He can sell programs in the stands or something like that, but he clearly can't operate as a cameraman effectively. No, I don't mean that. It's just like it's one of those things that happens, but it's still like
No, everybody
that's the
loves
moment.
themselves some Okada shorts.
Yeah.
That's a big thing within the New Japan community, and yeah, it sounds funny, but it is. And I mean, what the fuck can we say about this match? I would say we always plug the Patreon. Guys, save a month on the Patreon. Go subscribe to New Japan World. Watch this match, and if you don't fall in love with Japanese pro wrestling, then that's on you, not on them.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's clear to know if you watch this match and you don't not even just enjoy it, but just absolutely just go crazy about it, then New Japan is not for you. That's the real like kind of litmus test for you, is the fact that if you don't enjoy this match or you don't really see this match as anything special, then you're not going to like New Japan. So go whatever. There's so much other wrestling out there. That's fine for you to watch it, but for the people that like good pro wrestling, this is like as good as it gets. You just like I almost wanted to just go out and tweet. So sports entertainment could just kiss my ass, because this is the real stuff that I want to see all the time.
Did Ibushi outdo his golden lover and have a better match with Okada than Kenny Omega?
Absolutely. Oh, it's. I mean, I say absolutely now because it's in the moment. I would probably have to go back. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going back and watching those matches again. I feel like it'll be that one had a lot more time and build surrounding it than this one did. But I feel like as a one-off, this was better than the Wrestle Kingdom 11 match. I would say, maybe not Dominion, but it's definitely better than the first match that Okada and Omega had.
I would agree with that statement, especially since you said not Dominion.
It's hard to replace that one in my mind, but this is way up there for me. This is one of the best New Japan matches I've seen. Which is a high list, which is a big list of things to try and beat. But like they start off pretty slowly, like it's a pretty like gradual build up with just them kind of almost doing like some real technical mat based wrestling. But then it starts getting into it. I think the first like big thing to get a reaction is the draping DDT from the guardrail onto the floor. So Ibushi taking the hard bumps as he tends to do. Okada like takes control of a lot of the things to start off with. Like he encourages Ibushi to keep striking him harder, but because I think he wants to bring out telling commentary. And commentary really came onto its own for this match in particular, because it always does for Okada matches. It's like the story of he's trying to get Ibushi to go into that crazy emotional state that he goes into, because he feels like that might make him make a bit more of a mistake. So he hits another DDT, continues to just like taunt him, does that patented drop kick to Ibushi on the top rope, sending him crashing onto the floor. Then he does his traditional diving crossbody over the barricade. Like Okada doesn't do too many flashy things, but when he does, it's like it means something and it's a big event.
Yeah, and he okay, if we did Wrestler of the Decade, it's him, right? Like
I feel like there's literally no argument for anyone who watches anything else. Like if you would say people like the only person I'd say is even close in that league is Tanahashi, just because he was there for the whole decade, whereas Okada kind of only really came to his own around about 2012.
Right.
But even then, I think Okada supersedes Tanahashi. And there really isn't anyone else that touches him in terms of in-ring quality. And in terms of like just being booked so imperiously as Okada has been. Like, you have like he pulls out an old submission move called Red Ink, which like I don't think he's really used since like the feud with Tanahashi. Then you have him doing there's the one first super dangerous spot, which was Ibushi tries to do with his backflip kick, and he lands right on his head. It's like those sort of things can happen because of Ibushi's style, but Okada managed to catch him out of it. So he obviously didn't do too much damage to himself, but still pretty dangerous. There was a great spot. Okada tries a shotgun drop kick, and Ibushi leaps into the air, to dodge the drop kick, and then lands with a double foot stomp. That was great, and then he hits the golden triangle off of that.
I was watching the match, and I just kept thinking, all right, so Okada's gonna. I almost had flashbacks to Wrestle Kingdom 12 where I'm like, yeah, but Okada's gonna miss one of these Rainmakers and it's over. Like, Ibushi's gonna win, and man, it's almost like you don't bet against, when we're talking wrestling, you don't bet against Charlotte Flair, you don't bet against Roman Reigns, and you don't ever bet against Okada because the dude is just money. And I know it's his gimmick, but he's just money in the ring.
So, let's talk about Okada's like flashy stuff. So at one point he leaps a massive 6 feet in the air to connect with a drop kick when he goes for the bomb AA. But then after that sort of sequence, the emotion leaves Ibushi's face, and that's for me when it goes from being a very, very good great match to match of the year candidate. This Ibushi change of persona and character. Just he goes absolutely crazy. He starts no-selling Okada's offense, even a shotgun drop kick. He just gets up immediately, and then he just goes crazy with a load of closed fists to the face of Okada. So the referee has to keep telling him to stop doing that. Just I was terrified with some of the shots that he was landing on Okada, because it's just you know how we're supposed to feel like the Fiend is really scary and crazy.
Yeah.
I would step into the ring a million times. Yeah, I would step into the ring a million times over with the Fiend before I stepped into the ring with Ibushi. This guy is terrifying when he's just got that expressionless look on his face and he's just literally wailing on you with everything he's got. And then there's a terrifying sequence of teases on the apron where it looks like he's gonna do first of all that German suplex, but then Okada lines up for a tombstone, but then Ibushi blocks that originally and attempts to do the lawn dart into the ring post, but then he blocks that, and then Okada does hit a tombstone on the apron, dangerous enough as it is.
So gross.
Then we have this absolutely grisly German suplex. I called it that Okada hits on Ibushi that just folds him up completely. But then Ibushi follows that up on his own with his own horrifying middle rope German suplex, which Okada lands. I literally don't know how Okada's neck his head is still attached to his body with the force that he landed on his neck with that. It's just some of these guys are just absolute warriors and machines. I don't know how they still function properly. But
yeah, you gotta believe that when the lights go off, they are just ice packs and hot baths. Yeah. It's insane. It's inhuman.
So Okada kicks out of the out one from a bomb AA, and then Ibushi hits another one to the back of the head. Then he kicks out of the Kamigoye, which I believe he's the first person to do. There might have been one other person, maybe a Naito would have done it at some point, but he's definitely it's definitely very rare because that's his big move. And he attempted to do another one with the knee pads down, which I think is the big okay, this is definitely you're dead after this. But Okada reverses with a drop kick, which I feel is the ultimate reversal to that move. I don't think it will ever be topped in terms of how you reverse that move. Ibushi and Okada look great a little bit more. There is a huge spot where Ibushi catches Okada's missile dropkick from the top rope with a sit-out powerbomb.
Yep.
Then Ibushi attempts the Phoenix Splash. Okada rolls out the way. And then there's a discus clothesline. Then he hits the Rainmaker, but Ibushi kicks out. And then you start thinking, okay, this can literally go any way now. He's kicked out of one Rainmaker, so he's definitely in this. But then there's this massive, wonderful closing sequence where it looks like Okada is hitting Rainmaker after Rainmaker. Then he sets up for the big one. Ibushi dodges, does a load of running knees to the face. Then you think, okay, it's going to be Kamigoye. He's dead. He's done. but Okada gets out of that again, hits a sit out tombstone, which is fucking like, okay, right, okay, he's done. Another Rainmaker clothesline, and yep, 1, 2, 3. Okada retains the championship.
What a fucking
yeah, what a match. Yeah, it's just like a lot of these matches on the card was like, I don't think there wasn't a bad match on the card.
No.
But like this elevates it to like from just being like, okay, the Wrestle Kingdom was a really good, great show to okay, this show just, you know, we might just need to just cancel every other wrestling this year because nothing's going to top this. But then again, we have tomorrow night to consider.
You know what's fucking crazy? You know what sucks about that? It's January 4th.
I know.
Like it's the year just started.
It's like you just like have to think all like maybe, you know, maybe once a month just go back and watch this again, and maybe that will just like reinvigorate you to watch the rest of the stuff, which won't be as good. But this was just like
January will deliver. That's
January,
and that is wrestling. January delivers, and then the rest of it is what it is.
Yeah. But then you have so Naito approaches with when Okada's celebrating, they're trying to get Ibushi out of the ring with the ice packs and everything like that. Okada clocks him, and Naito comes in. This is obviously where Chris Charlton comes into his own because he can translate this stuff like on the fly for us. So he's so useful.
I want to learn Japanese. Every time I like listen to Chris Charlton, I'm like, I have to learn this language.
Yeah. So Naito just cuts a quick promo saying how he's coming back after 2 years after what he said about Naito when he defeated him at Wrestle Kingdom before, and he'll come back tomorrow night. He'll win both titles, and he'll be the man. So they stare down. Naito leaves, and so Okada gets to cut his like winner's promo, basically just thanking everyone for coming out tonight, like for the huge attendance, for Ibushi for giving him the fight of his life, saying that he's the strongest IWGP champion of all time. And I'm not going to argue with him when he says that. That might be the case.
Yeah.
And he says that he'll defeat Naito again, and he'll hold both belts, and he hopes people come back tomorrow to see him do it. And officially calls New Japan Pro Wrestling the greatest wrestling in the world. And again, not going to argue with him. This is when it's at this level, it is the greatest pro wrestling in the world. I would strongly say I don't watch all the pro wrestling in the world, but I can't see anything really topping this.
I really think that New Japan is the greatest, and there are times where I'm like, oh man, I wish Okada would go somewhere where I could see him more often, but it's such a perfect fit. He never needs to go anywhere else, you know. Like if they do get a working relationship with AEW, that's cool. I would like to see more here in America, but it's so good. Like Okada, maybe I know for other generations, it's whether it's Liger or Saruda or Misawa, but for us, it's Okada, and it always will be.
Yeah, Okada is and will continue to be. Like, he's 32 years old.
Oh, fuck.
He is going to be, like, for at least the next 15 years, probably still one of, if not the greatest wrestler in the world. And by the end of that period, we might be talking about him, because people already are kind of, some people are talking about this already, but he might go down in history as the greatest wrestler to have ever lived. And I don't think that would be undeserved.
That is not like a stretch at all.
And yeah, he will continue to do this stuff. And if he continues to produce matches like this, then because the thing that's so incredible about Okada is that he doesn't have like as diverse an arsenal as someone like a Will Ospreay does, or even someone like in WWE like a Seth Rollins. But he doesn't need to. It's just the way he carries himself and the facial expressions and the selling and everything like that is just there's few, if anybody, that's better at it. Like, there's some people that probably take certain elements of Okada's character or the way that he wrestles and can maybe do it slightly better or do it in a slightly different way, which is just as good. But nobody brings the whole package together quite like Okada does.
I can't argue with the word you just said.
And that's no shame on Ibushi either, because Ibushi is right up there with him. Like Ibushi, like I don't feel Ibushi gets the level love that he deserves for being one. I would say he's top 5 in the world right now. I'd say Okada and Ospreay are 2 of the top 5 right now, and I'd say Ibushi is right there as well. Like you can make arguments for a lot of other people as well, but I'd say, in terms of my own personal opinion, those 3 are pretty nailed on up there. But
I think if this is how we're starting the new decade, is it's not like, all right, we already have a match of the decade, match of the year. Like, you can't. It's hard to talk about because it's like you need to see it.
Yeah, you have to see it. You have to see this match. Like, go out of your way. If you can't be like willing to spend the money on New Japan World thing, I'm sure you'll find some means of seeing this match. But you have to see this match if you haven't seen it. Don't care how much New Japan you've ever seen before. This match is a must-watch. And yeah, I can thoroughly recommend the whole New Japan product and Night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom enough. And we're going to get to see more of it again when we come back tomorrow for the second night. I have to ask because obviously you expected Ibushi to win this match, or you predicted Ibushi to win this match. Has Okada winning changed your opinion at all about Night 2's result?
Only in the sense, listen, I've been here. I was here 2 years ago, where I was like, I know it's Naito's night, but you don't ever count out the Rainmaker. So I just don't know.
I'm still counting out the Rainmaker, and I'm still because I expected Okada to win this, and I still think it's going to be Naito's night tomorrow. But
it's possible.
But again, Okada is the greatest, so it could. I won't be disappointed either way. Let's put it that way. I'm sure the match will be great as well. I don't know if it can match this one. If it does, then like hats off to them. But I don't know how many matches will match like the quality that we saw on this main event throughout the whole year.
Very possible.
So yeah, that's our Wrestle Kingdom Night 1 review. We'll be back, like, as mentioned, tomorrow for the second one, where we get to see Jushin Thunder Liger's final match. Got some more title matches to discuss, like IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, Never Openweight 6-man tag titles. Got the Never Openweight title. You have the British Heavyweight Championship. Got Jericho against Tanahashi, with like a potential AEW title match on the line in that.
Yeah, that's gonna be the big. Yeah. If Jericho loses that match, that's gonna be the big news coming out of Night 2, that there's a potential working relationship in place.
And then obviously the big winner takes all champion versus champion showcase. So very much looking forward to that after this one. I'm super pumped after this show. So let's
just keep the energy going, right?
Just keep the passion going. So if you have like any thoughts about Wrestle Kingdom, like the show that you saw itself, then do feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you're listening on YouTube, or if you're listening on like podcast feeds, then leave us a rating and then head over to YouTube and leave your comments there. You can also like follow Smark on all the channels, like all social media channels like Facebook and Twitter, and join the Mega Maniacs Facebook group if you're interested in just joining some like-minded wrestling fans. Other stuff you can do is obviously donate to the Patreon if you want to show a little bit of like financial support for all these great content we're putting out there. Like Tony will be introducing the Dark Cast soon, so if you pay $10 a month, you'll be able to listen to some additional exclusive podcasts there, as well as just any more additional content. Like if you pay the $50 tier with Pick Your Poison, you can get us to produce any podcast of your choosing, within reason, of course.
That's right. And if you want us to talk more about New Japan, we can do that. If you want us to do like a Mount Rushmore of New Japan, we can do that. Tony probably won't be on that one, but we will be.
Yeah. And then say that there's other stuff too. If you want to financially support us, you can go to like TeePublic or Redbubble and buy some of the merchandise on there. Obviously, Tony hasn't been able to join us because he doesn't like Japanese wrestling, because he's not a fan of real wrestling. Let's put it that way.
That maybe
he's a sports entertainment fan, and maybe even not so much now.
Not so much that anymore.
but But you can follow him in something that he's more passionate about, which is the geek culture stuff on Fanboys Anonymous, which is where he does all of his like movie reviews and comic book stuff and video games content. And support him on by checking out the website, reading the articles, donating on Patreon for that as well. Rob, do you want to throw out your plugs now?
Yeah, if for whatever reason you weren't able to see this and maybe you're not subscribed to New Japan World, you should check out Fightful.com. We had very in-depth coverage of everything, and we will continue to have updated coverage of everything going into night 2. You can check out WrestleZone.com. Ross Berman does a hell of a job covering New Japan, maybe one of the best outside of the dudes in Voices of Wrestling. And just if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. And let's just, like I said, keep the energy going. This was a hell of a wrestling show, and I love the feeling I have after watching good wrestling.
Yeah, so thanks for listening. Obviously, you can follow me on Twitter at Wikimeister14 as well if you're so inclined. But yeah, great night of wrestling. Can't really say much else good about any more good things about it than we already have. So let's look forward to night 2 and keep the positivity going for as long as we possibly can until the next episode of Raw Issue. But thank you very much for listening, everybody. More New Japan content on the way. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.